Hey friends, this is Kristen from Whole Family Health Food. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so honored to have this conversation with my friend Alison from Smart Solutions. It's a conversation that we've been wanting to have for a while, and it's really, I think, super important because as women, we get told so often that many of our experiences, our hormonal experiences specifically as women, um, although we are suffering, we get told, that that's so common, it gets normalized, that this is just all part of womanhood. Suck it up, buttercup. There's really nothing that can be done for us. And we, in chatting, um, came to the realization that we both really agree that that's a very harmful message for women because it disempowers us from seeking solutions that are available to us. It disempowers us from investigating further problems that could be brewing under the surface that deserve attention. Um, our quality of life takes a hit because we're suffering in physical pain, in emotional ups and downs. And so I'm so glad that you're here joining me and Alison to have this conversation and just sit in and listen as we share some of our personal experiences with different hormonal experiences that we've had and the solutions that we have sought, some of the remedies that have been really helpful for us. So like I say, grab a tea, a coffee, a water, pull up a chair. It's going to be a great conversation. And I'm so pleased to have you here, Alison. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing, your information with this community. So for those that haven't had the pleasure to meet you yet, maybe you could just share a little bit about yourself, your expertise, and we can go from there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kristen. It's great to be here as well. So my name is Alison Hilton. I have been in the nutraceutical industry since about 2002. I've worked with many leading doctors, and I guess I kind of thought I knew everything about health being in the industry, right? So here we are almost 20 years later, and I've learned a lot through my personal experiences. I'm fortunate to be working with the Smart Solutions line. I've been in many trainings with the founder, Lorna Vanderhaeg. She was the creator of all the products. And I've been able to work retail and help many, many women just with their different issues as it relates to hormones. So yeah, I guess my story, in a nutshell is, I guess it was 2016, 2015. I just started to feel like something wasn't right. I was bloated often. So I pushed. I'm a big believer in being an advocate of your own health, and the squeaky wheel does get the oil. So I was pretty convinced that something might not be right. So thankfully, my family doctor ran an ultrasound and they discovered that I had some cysts on my ovaries, which is quite normal, right? So we just monitored it. I think every 3 months we would do an ultrasound, and then I just kind of left it and I said, oh, it's fine. It's no big deal. They're going to go away, right? And then I had a childhood best friend, Ashley Stiles, who was sadly diagnosed with cancer. And within 5 months, she lost her battle to cancer. And that made me realize I need to take my health seriously, right? She was too young to go. So anyhow, I have to definitely mention her because I think that I would have just ignored it. And I went back to my doctor and we did some more ultrasounds, and lo and behold, the cysts were quite large and they were growing, and I tried everything. And it was at that point where I had to have surgery, right? So the tumors came back as precancerous. So thankfully, I was able to just have the ovaries removed. And that was in 2017. So I was 35 and I instantly hit a brick wall and went into menopause after the surgery right away. Right. So that was kind of my experience with my hormones. Right. and who knows why it happened, right? I mean, no one knows why these things happen, but now that I've done a lot of research, I think I had endometriosis, definitely had hormonal imbalances. I had heavy periods, painful periods, um, really strong migraines that time of the month. So it's just what I've learned now, and what I've learned through these products is that these are, symptoms that something is off in your body. And I think, as you're mentioning, all too often we just say, oh, it's fine, it's normal, right? This is what it's like to be a woman, and it's not. That is your body telling you that something is out of balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I know from what I'm seeing in the store, this very prolonged period of stress that we collectively have been under. And I feel subjectively that, the women in our society have really shouldered a lot of the burden of this past year, especially, children at home, and many of the industries that have been targeted for shutdown have been female focused. So there's financial stress, there's stress at home, there's now homeschooling your children while you're trying to do your job in a broom closet. It's one thing on top of the other. And what I'm seeing and hearing is that, hormonal symptoms are really being exacerbated by the stress. Did you find that at all in your experience? Did you find that as you've gone through this transition and since your surgery, stress exacerbates your symptoms, makes them worse? How did you sort of get a handle on this massive transition that you were thrown into really quickly? And what were some of the things that you did to support yourself?
Yeah, well, I have a daughter. She's 15. She'll be 15 in a month, but I've been raising her alone for 12 years. So I definitely think the stress of my life led to my hormonal imbalances. I also had my appendix rupture when I was 12, and I was septic, and I was in the hospital for 2, 3 weeks pumping the poisons out. So that probably took a toll on my immune system. And then I was in fight or flight for a decade, right? So I was definitely in stress, in a stressful life, right? And a lot of us just become accustomed to that. So um, I have 3 naturopathic doctors. I have an oncologist. I have a medical doctor. I have 2 medical doctors. I mean, I now the amount of health practitioners that I work with, it's wonderful, right? I mean, I feel better than I have felt in a very long time, and I attribute that to definitely coping with stress. For me, I like to run, I like to walk. That's definitely a stress reliever. It's also, obviously, exercise is great for our health. I definitely rely a lot on the Smart Solutions products. The Thyro Smart is 2 of them first thing in the morning, being that your adrenals will become, your backup system for your hormonal production. If you are in menopause, perimenopause, or surgery-induced menopause, you really have to support your adrenals. And our adrenals are all being taxed right now from the stress that everyone is under. So the AdrenaSmart, I take the AdrenaSmart, the ThyroSmart 100%, magnesium. My vitamin D levels, we started doing my blood serum of my vitamin D, and of course my vitamin D was low. I mean, vitamin D is the master of the hormone production system, and I think that it's not focused on enough when we talk about hormones, because I think that vitamin D is so crucially important. And if your doctor isn't asking you to pay the $35 to get it tested, ask for it, because it is a hormone, and you maybe should be taking 5,000 IU a day. I take 10,000 IU a day because my vitamin D levels are still low and I need to get them up, right? So, those are just a few of the products. I also take the Estro Smart because I want to balance, I want to make sure that my body isn't using the estrogens, not breaking them down properly, right? Like making sure that there's the proper balance of the 3 different types of estrogen. So magnesium is essential in every cell in our body. We're burning through all of these nutrients when we're under stress. And really, who isn't under stress? Even before this pandemic, everybody was stressed out. But yeah, certainly the stress levels have increased for most people. So those are a few of the products that I rely on. I mean, obviously, diet high in vegetables and organic as much as possible, right, is really important. Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the main tactics that I use, right?
So, question for you, and I hear this a lot, and I try and suppress my frustration, but I have so many women come into the store that say, and when they are describing their symptoms to me, it sounds so much like, adrenal fatigue and low, sluggish thyroid. Not
Yeah.
necessarily a thyroid that's so dysfunctional that it needs to be medicated, but definitely, their body temperature is running cold, their skin is dry, their hair is starting to fall out. They just have like no mojo to get up in the morning and get going. But when I ask, how's your thyroid? They say, oh, my doctor says it's fine. Like it's been tested and it's fine. Um, would something like ThyroSmart be helpful, even if the thyroid hasn't shown up as, hypothyroidism on blood work?
I personally think so. I know that, there is some controversy in the type of testing that's done to determine if there is a sluggish thyroid. So relying on your symptoms when it comes to your thyroid, which, all of the symptoms that you pointed out, right? Constipation is another one that's often thyroid related. Yeah, the thinning of the eyebrows, the dry skin, the dry hair, um, even just irritability, right? Just not even being able, if you just feel like things bother you more than they used to, that also can be a sign of your thyroid too, right? So I mean, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? I've now determined that my thyroid levels are a little bit off, and that's why I'm very, very religious with my ThyroSmart, and then I'll go back for more tests in a couple of months. But did my thyroid cause the ovary problem? Did the ovaries cause the thyroid problem? They're all connected, right? So yes, taking your ThyroSmart and then ensuring that your thyroid is functioning properly. Foods high in iodine, kelp. There's so many foods that you can consume as well. But I do think taking the ThyroSmart as a preventative measure is definitely beneficial, right? Um, Magnesium. I mean, there's so many nutrients, and also just a multivitamin, like the Smart Solutions Multi-Smart has a nice blend of everything in there that one could take. But yeah, when it comes to the thyroid, it's really tricky, right? It's really hard to determine if you have a thyroid problem or not. I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure there is a lot of men as well, but females that do have thyroid imbalances, right? And that's just connected to our stress levels and just hormonal imbalances, all the chemicals that we're exposed to. If you're not eating all organic foods, which who is, and even if you are, we're still only receiving not the full percentage of the nutrients that we need, right? And that's going to throw imbalances in our hormones, which is going to affect our thyroid, which then affects our reproductive organs. So it's all so intertwined, right?
I think that's such an important part that, again, just gets overlooked when we get sort of carved up and we're looking at specific symptoms related to a particular, we get sent to this specialist or that specialist, an endocrinologist for thyroid and a gynecologist for your hormonal symptoms, instead of really being looked at as a whole woman that has, this chemical soup going on inside our entire body, and all of these chemical messengers are speaking to each other. Like we're a holistic being, and all of these things, to your point, are so interwoven. And I think sometimes that doesn't get, appreciated for how much one system or organ or hormone can influence all the others. One of the things that you mentioned that's really interesting, and maybe you can just give us a little bit more info on it, is you mentioned that you take the EstroSmart to make sure all three types of estrogen are in balance. And I think that's something that would maybe stand out for some women, that we just talk about estrogen as one thing and don't, have awareness around the fact that there's multiple different types of hormones that we sort of group under this one umbrella. What do we want to be watching out for, or how could something like the EstroSmart help us if something's out of balance there?
I did, it's called the Dutch test. So it tests your urine, and it actually shows you what your body is doing in terms of estriol, estradiol, the different types of estrogen. So for me, I know scientifically how my body utilizes estrogen. So everybody's body is going to utilize estrogen differently. Some people can't break it down properly, which can lead to estrogen dominant cancers, right? Some people have an imbalance of progesterone to estrogen. So the EstroSmart has ingredients that will help to naturally balance your estrogen and progesterone levels. It helps to remove the bad estrogens that have shown to cause cancer. Women that are not regular on their cycle. It used to be called EstroSmart Plus, but it's now been rebranded as Cycle Smart. That will help to balance the cycle so that your hormones are more in balance. Facial hair, acne, headaches, all of these different things are a sign that the hormones aren't balanced properly, right? So I'm a firm believer in now that being what I've gone through is investing in yourself and going to a hormone institute, a naturopathic doctor, taking, the EstroSmart, the ThyroSmart, the AdrenaSmart, your vitamin D, your magnesium, your MultiSmart, your protein, saying, okay, for 1 month, I am going to be 100% on board with how I want to take care of my body and my hormones. And if that's how you want to invest your money, at the end of the month, you'll probably feel so much better. But if you feel like you're past that point and you want to go to a professional, invest in yourself and spend the money, because it's hard to know exactly how everyone's body is functioning, obviously, right? And even with vitamin D, right? Everybody, even if we were, naked all summer, we're too far from the equator. We are not going to make enough vitamin D. We are just too far from the equator. So we have to be in Canada supplementing with vitamin D all year round, but it's a hormone. So how many IUs do you need? You have to test your blood to find that out. So I think we as women get so busy taking care of other people, taking care of our children, cooking, cleaning, and we don't invest enough in our health and just say, oh, you just kind of get used to it, right? Like you just like, oh no, it's fine. I'm used to it. It's normal. And it's not, right? Iron is another thing. A lot of us are low in iron, and you have to go and get blood work to know if you need iron or not, right? So, if something is not functioning properly, it's a sign that there's an imbalance. What that imbalance is, science is going to show us that. Tests are going to show us that. But even for me, many of my doctors don't know that I'm an account manager with Smart Solutions, and they're recommending Smart Solutions for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a testament to the products and how well they work. If they have
Exactly.
a reputation with medical doctors, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all non-GMO. They're created by a chemist. Like, they're very, very high quality products that are being recommended by naturopathic doctors. So, if financially you can't afford to go to a naturopathic doctor, take some of the Smart Solutions products, and I think that they will work, right? It's just a matter of being consistent with them.
Absolutely. I always say to people, give something a try, an honest try, to your point, commit to it for 1 month, for 3 months, and then stop and see if you feel better, worse, or the same. And very often, I have women come back and tell me that they've gone off a cliff, when they've run out of their product, because it's easy to take for granted once you start feeling better that this is, where sort of the new bar is. But we're getting a lot of support from our supplements sometimes that we don't realize. And so when we stop taking them, we really notice how much that they are supporting us and how much we're benefiting from them. Myself, my experience with estrogen specifically has really changed my relationship with it, because I'm in my mid 40s now. So I'm right into that perimenopause phase. And to your point, getting those cyclical migraines and, just all of a sudden where I'm carrying weight in my body is changing and my metabolism is feeling really sluggish. And, I'm waking up in the middle of the night sweating, and I'm like, what fresh hell is this? And so I had some blood work done with a naturopath to assess my hormones at various times in my cycle, to assess, like, to your point, how are things rising and falling in relationship to each other? Like, I think that that's something that gets missed a lot, is that relationship of estrogen and progesterone and vitamin D and, our cortisol levels. What's the interplay of these, and what's the interplay not just on one random day but throughout the month? And so once I was able to get some information about where I was at, and supplement with some bioidentical hormones and some Menosmart, so I've got the herbs, the vitamins, and some bioidentical hormones to top me up. Like, to your point, I feel better than I felt in years, which is, it's pretty awesome that it feels very empowering. It had begun to feel like I was just on this slippery slope, and my quality of life was going in a direction that I didn't like, but it was like, the boiling of the frog, right? Like, the temperature is getting turned up so gradually that you don't notice. Like, I used to be super active and 3 nights a week go to the gym and feel great and sleep well, and now it's like I can't get off the couch at night, and I'm bloated all the time, and I'm headachy constantly, and I'm getting crankier by the minute. And it's just this gradual change that's happening. And I was like, wait a minute, I do not like where this is headed. And I'm only in my mid 40s. Like, I got a lot of life left in me. So it felt so empowering to get that information, like, have the test done, invest in myself, figure out where I'm at, exactly which tools do I need to feel better, and then be able to take responsibility for that. It felt really good. So
awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely, and I hear even just ladies talking amongst themselves in the store, oh, well, my daughter spends 2 days a month in bed, but oh, well, like, that's just life as a woman. Welcome to it. Or women that are my age coming in and saying, like, I'm like, how's it going? And I'm like, I want to murder everybody. And, but, again, I guess that's just how it goes. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I think that's, if there's nothing else that people take away from this conversation, I think that that's a really important takeaway, is that you don't have to accept whatever negative symptom, physical pain, emotional stress that you're going through. You don't have to accept it as just a normal part of womanhood, that there is so much that we can do to assess what's happening in our body, where things are out of balance, and then lots of tools that you can use, whether it's over the counter, in the health food store, or prescribed through your medical doctor, your naturopath. Lots of tools that can be used in order to get you back into balance and feeling like yourself in your own skin again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the customers waking up like at 3 a.m. and such. I mean, that's adrenal fatigue, right? I mean, that is definitely a sign that the adrenals are just overtaxed, right? And the Adrenosmart is really great for that. The Smile 5-HTP is really helpful as well, taking morning, afternoon, and evening. And then, of course, the Sleep Smart, melatonin. I mean, melatonin is so crucial for us to be taking as well, right? So yeah, there's definitely solutions. It's just a matter of finding the right combination of products that are going to work for you. And I think I had said 1 month, but you're right. I think 3 months is really probably the right amount of time that you would need to really assess that the new program that you've put in place is working. We kind of want things to be fixed right away, but it's probably taking years to get out of balance. So give it some time to make sure it gets back into balance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, as we know, once we reach the age of 20, we're losing 1% collagen production per year. So collagen, I mean, most people are taking collagen, but, especially if you are in a hormonally compromised situation, collagen the GLA skin oil. The GLA skin oil with the Smart Solutions line is also really great for all of these hormonal issues that we're talking about as well. So there's just so many products that you can try, right? And you know, for me having a 15-year-old daughter, like I have her on the Cycle Smart, you know, we've done all of her blood work already. We've done a lot of hormone testing for her. And, you know, as mothers, just educating and empowering, you know, our daughters to take control before it gets out of control.
That's such great advice.
Yeah.
Your daughter's so lucky to have you.
Thank you. I'm lucky to have her.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so grateful for you and for this conversation, for this honest conversation, that we can really just share some insight and some strategy with the ladies in our community, so that they know, A, that they're not alone if they're suffering, and B, that there are multiple ways that they can go about starting to empower themselves and improve their health status, whether it is just popping in here, having a chat with me or someone on my team, and getting some suggestions on where to start with the Smart Solutions line. Or, you know, we have wonderful relationships with a lot of naturopaths and practitioners in the community. So we're happy to refer people as well if you want to get into some deeper level of testing. So lots of resources and tools and information that we're certainly happy to share here at the store. And thank you so much for your generosity in sharing all your knowledge and information. I think it's really important that we just keep having these conversations as women. We keep sharing the information and sort of being here for each other, and normalizing that instead of normalizing pain, suffering, and feeling like crap is just, you know, a normal part of womanhood. So changing the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, you shouldn't be embarrassed that your hormones are imbalanced, right? I mean, it's a real problem. It's a real problem for people, and there's solutions out there, right? So yeah, I think your advice is spot on for anyone that's listening. And I mean, I'm more than happy to, you know, message you with the team that I work with as well. And, you know, perhaps we'll cross some paths with who you're working with as well, right? There's some great doctors, great naturopathic doctors, and get your vitamin D levels checked.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Kristen. It was great. It's great chatting about this. It's really important. It's life-changing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.